Good afternoon. My name is Odie Hawkins, and I have to say that we are one day late in giving you this version of A Moment in Time. And when I say we, I'm talking about Zola Salena-Hawkins, the director, producer, wife of yours truly. And that's the way we're going to start into this. For those who've been following this little free-form exercise we're doing called Moment in Time, you will know that I'm using this year as a way to, as a time to talk about social matters that may or may not mean a lot to some people and may mean more to some people than other people.
Mm-hmm.
To pick out these little fables and foibles of the human condition that people may have noticed but would not want to comment on. I'm one of those who wants to comment on a lot of stuff that, kind of bug you, but, don't make you feel like you want to commit suicide or anything. For example, the piece that I'm about to read today is called, well, last time, if you recall, I read The Insensitive Society and the components of the insensitive society. So we dealt with that, put that in your pipe and smoke it. No pun intended. Pause for a bit of this wonderful coffee.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Master Tom.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Master Tom.
Mm-hmm.
This Wednesday afternoon, I thought we'd go into something that I'm calling the telephone etiquette and the lost art of using your car's turn signals. I could add to that the kind of thing that's happening with a tremendous number of our motorists these days, it seems more than ever, the running of the red light. It's as though red light meant go and green meant go more. And having just left the dangerous corners and crevices of our city and watched this phenomenon go on, I'm sure it must have happened at the very beginning when Ford came up with the automobile and people just simply started going down the road. But then they didn't have very many stoplights and traffic was not as well regulated as it is now. Supposedly regulated and held in check by people on motorcycles who would stop you if you ran through a light, but somehow it seemed that they're never there when you need them, as you have just been able to affirm being out in the streets. So having said all of that, let me get to this moment in time.
Well, they have said that a lot of officers have retired.
Say that again?
A lot of officers have retired. They're trying to increase the police force throughout the cities. From COVID.
You mean here in Long Beach?
Well, I think, they said across the board that they're trying to recruit more officers. So they're trying, and what they've done is they've taken away from, like, the vice area. I think there was a cultural diversity department. They shut that one down, and they're trying to pull from other departments and put officers out on the streets. So, in the meantime, they are recruiting.
I'm so glad to hear that.
I know you are.
Yeah, I'm so glad.
On with the show.
Let's see what happens.
Yes.
But before that happens, and I'm sure even after that happens, we'll still be dealing with problems of telephone etiquette.
Yes.
And the lost art of using cars' turn signals. I mean, it's not going to identify the beginnings of the end of American civilization as we know it, or anything like that. But, little things get lost and chipped off, and at some point, if enough has been chipped off and lost, you fall over the edge. I'm sure they said the same thing in Rome when they were on television. Keep this up, Caesar, and you'll see. The lost art, telephone etiquette, and the lost art of using a car's turn signals. I don't know how it started, but I pray it comes to an end soon. The inane, banal questions that checkout persons at some of our chain stores seem to compel to ask. Maybe it was a corporate decision, a prerequisite part of the employment requirement. You must ask the shopper this inane question. It would be hard to imagine that a conscious, hard-working cashier would voluntarily, deliberately ask, "Is everything okay?" Or, "Did you find everything you wanted?" Or whatever the current banal question is. Recently, while passing too slowly through a checkout line at one of our better-known semi-gourmet item specialty stores, I felt compelled to answer with more than, yeah, okay. Everything's okay. Let's call it intelligent consumer rebellion, if you will. Somehow it seemed that absurd it would be required to salt pedal my feelings to support banality, to go with the flow. I replied quietly with a friendly expression on my face. This is, well, masked down to here. With a friendly expression on my face, no, not no, but hell no. Everything that I wanted was not found here. I didn't find peace on earth, goodwill toward all men. I didn't find a solution for global warming. I didn't find any solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conundrum. Nor did I find a reasonable solution for America's ongoing fascination with racism, illegal immigration practices, all poisonous air, bad water. Nor did I find anything in this store that was supposed to be the catalyst for you asking me a question like that. The casual questioning clerk's eyes bugged out a bit at this completely unexpected response. I felt paranoid for a few beats, fearing that he was going to call the manager, and that the manager was going to call the police. The thought flickered through my head like a headline on these overhead cameras. Cultural assassination in the third checkout lanes. Terrorists arrested. Resist arrests. Shot. Bang! But I felt just as compelled as he felt to lard it on. My dad just died from prostate cancer 2 days ago. My youngest daughter has been diagnosed as a paranoid schizophrenic. My uncle Sidney has been arrested and charged with pedophilia, or something called pedophilic acts, after molesting me and my sister for most of our pre-teenage lives. My mom has decided to tell us the truth about her long-standing relationship with Aunt Jane. We had no idea that Mom and Aunt Jane were lovers. Just taking in a little bit more of the art of
Pinocchioism.
Of the turnstile. But I thought I would use that as a
Pinocchioism.
I'm going on. Mimba. Now, of course, when I look back on how they related to each other, it should have been perfectly clear that they were in love with each other. God bless them. The horrible mess in Iraq, the Middle East, it would be hard to imagine anyone asking, "Everything okay?" While all of that madness is being played out. Babies starving, genocide in Africa, neo-Nazis in Europe and elsewhere, class caste wars in India and South America, pollution in the Arctic, the Antarctic, both ends, both tops of the bottom of the world. Maybe some people won't relate to this notion of the struggles of the underclasses against the upper classes in South America, and if we tweak the woof and warp of it a bit, we could pixelate the business right onto the front porch of the United States. Is everything okay? No, not really. I'm concerned about the quickly spreading fascism that was unleashed by Bush's White House coup d'etat and the subsequent empowerment of the fundamentalist right, an empowerment that may have permanently eroded the ideals that America was supposed to be founded on. Of course, most intelligent people realized a long time ago that the so-called founding fathers didn't create a democracy, and they had no intention of doing any such thing. Granted, this democracy is a far better piece of business than most of the planet's other political systems, but it's a long way from being ideal. Maybe if the founding fathers had paid more attention to the governing forms of the indigenous peoples, then we might have a firmer footing for our democracy to stand on. But if that didn't happen, and because of the authentic government forms of the indigenous people had been devastated, it's not likely to happen. Now, everything is definitely not all right or okay. And while I'm about it, I may as well uncork my feelings about those impolite individuals who seem to be incapable of speaking on the telephone/cell phone to another person with any degree of respect. Let me speak to Jack. May I ask who's calling, please? Who wants to know? I want to speak to Jack. The desperate telemarketers are a shade more polite out of sheer necessity, but just a shade. Please don't hang up on me. I have an important message for Jack Jones. Who are you and how did you get this number? We're offering absolutely free. Who are you and how are you Jack Jones? No suggestion of who they are or what they represent, just want what they want. They can make a person feel violated. Unfortunately, many of us have become so conditioned to unacceptable telephone etiquette that we go along with the program without even giving a lot of thought. I see a nod of a head here and there. Mm-hmm. One head, two heads, three heads. You look like you're in stroboscopic there for me.
There you go.
Tie the poor telephone manners into the lost art of using auto turn signals, and we have a full caduceus. The lost art of using auto turn signals is directly linked to the ubiquitous cell phone. Have you noticed how seldom drivers who are cell phone engaged use their turn signals? And also I have to add those people who are punching in those that little email that's going out while they're going straight ahead through the red light. Of course, a few are legitimately distracted from their phone conversations long enough to signal lane changes, right, left hand, but many others can't be bothered to perform such mundane tasks or simply see any need to do it. Let the poor schmuck behind guess at the next erratic move. I mean, think about the guy we drove down the street behind today for at least, I don't know, 20 blocks with his left turn signal blinking. Certainly he had to turn left at some point.
He did. He swerved over and turned left.
Finally.
Yes.
That's true, isn't it?
When we least expected it.
When we least expected it. Occasionally, one of our more public-spirited public servants is apt to make a synthetic speech about the hazards of not using the turn signals because someone they know has been maimed, rear-ended, sideswiped, or killed. But the speech is virtually toothless. After all, the public servants are as guilty as the rest of the negligent. And finally, after the banality of, is everything okay? The suicidal attacks of the cell phone abusers and the subsequently underuse of the car signals, we get to the immensely unimaginative, have a good one. Yeah, right, give me a break. You know what I'm saying? Give me a break. Have a good one or what? good one or what?
There you go.
It never seems to finish. Have a goodie. And that's the end of my barking and
Have a good day.
screaming
Have a good night.
for today.
Yeah.
For today.
Mm-hmm.
In the coming weeks,
Mm-hmm.
we will be addressing things of social concern that I've identified in my own little warped,
Mm-hmm.
quirky way of thinking about these things, and I'm going to release them on you.
Well, you know, my latest one, because like you, I get a little perturbed with a have a good one. So, you know, you notice that
Give me a good one.
I've said, hope you have a good life.
Yeah, you do that, don't you?
Hope you have a good life.
Let's be more specific. Let's
Yes.
be more.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I think it comes from arriving at a point where you just make so many generalities happen that you can't be specific about anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just, you know, how are you all? Well, identify somebody you want to ask. How are you?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How are you all? What's that got to do with me? And I'm not going to belabor the point because I think I have already.
I think you've done exceedingly well, Mr. Hawkins. Thank you very much. Your website is
Oh, did we
www.
mention these books behind me?
Oh, okay, please.
I have a lot of them.
Uh-huh.
I'll duck my head and see if you could announce the names of them. Can you
Okay.
see?
Yes, there, of course, is Matador Negro Azucar, which is on your right. Okay, then Palm Wine Junction, which is in the middle, and other stories. And then the Snake Doctor, which is there right at the third one from the right. And then Urban Nomads and Other Stories. And
Okay, your Urban Nomads is especially memorable in my mind because you did a photograph for them.
yes, it did. Okay, and
Bravo.
thank you. And Tony Gleason did the cover for Matador Negro Azucar. And Palm Wine Junction, I believe, was
Miss Lynn Suchin,
yeah.
Suchin Lynn.
Yes, Suchin Lin did that one. And then the cover for Snake Doctor was
Zola Salena-Hawkins.
right, and the
A picture of our friend Bahati.
Bahati, yes, indeed, who's into government, into civic community things, and of course, Urban Nomads is just a lot of pictures of the homeless and the tents and drug deal going down and so forth and so forth. Books can be purchased on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and the internet. Your website, again, is www.odhawkins.com. Okay? Thank you very much for this moment in time. And
Yeah.
fitness.
See you next week.
See you next week. Ciao.